The Thistle Creek Pact. Part 1. The Bone Beneath the Water. I never meant to come back to Thistle Creek. The town had been quiet for almost 20 years, and I intended to keep it that way. I left when I was 17, after my brother disappeared under circumstances nobody could explain. Not the sheriff, not my mother, not even the church. They said he ran off. Hitchhiked west like so many dumb kids who thought the world outside a one-road town would somehow make more sense. But I remember the night he vanished. I remember the thing we heard crawling beneath the floorboards. I remember his screams. I remember the smell. I never forgot. I just tried to pretend I did. And now, here I was. Back again. The call came from Sheriff Penley. He wasn't the same man who ruled the town when I was a boy. Old Sheriff Hollis died in a fire that burned down half the courthouse in '04. But Penley had the same voice, that creaky southern lilt that made every sentence sound like a threat wrapped in molasses. "Mr. Cade," he said, "I think you need to come home." That was all it took. Thistle Creek hadn't changed. The welcome sign was still crooked, bullet holes riddled through the town's slogan, "Peaceful Waters, Proud People." The gas station was still a one-pump shack next to a bait shop, and the woods looked just as dark as I remembered. And the lake? God, the lake looked worse. It used to be clear. Not beautiful, exactly, but you could see the bottom in the shallows, watch tadpoles squirm and dive through cattails. Now it was black. Not murky. Black. Like the water itself had turned thick. Oily. It sucked the light out of the air, turning sunlight into something gray and sickly. Sheriff Penley met me at the dock. He didn't offer a handshake. Didn't smile. "Appreciate you coming," he said, arms crossed, eyes on the lake like it might leap out and swallow him. "What's going on?" He pulled something from his coat pocket. Held it out to me. A tooth. No, a fawn. Black at the root, smooth as glass, about 3 inches long. It wasn't fossilized though. Still fresh. There was meat on the edge. Tendons. "We found this last night," Penley muttered. "Some kids dared each other to swim after dark. The Reynolds girl went under, didn't come back up for a full minute. When she surfaced, she was holding this." I turned it over in my palm. It pulsed. I swear to God it pulsed. Like it still had a heartbeat. "You brought me here for a tooth?" "Not just that," he said. Then he turned, led me down the dock, and pointed to the water. Something floated there, tethered to the posts with rope and duct tape. At first I thought it was a deer. But deer don't have hands. It was pale and bloated. Skin stretched thin, mottled with water damage and claw marks. Hair long and clumped like black river moss. The thing's jaw was broken open, lips ripped away, exposing a row of double teeth, both sets sharpened, gleaming in the dull light. I took a step back. "That's not human," I muttered. Penley nodded. "It's wearing your brother's shirt." Back at the station, he laid it all out for me. There'd been signs. Animals found torn up along the creek bed. Coyotes twisted into shapes no coyote could move into. Birds flying in circles until their hearts gave out midair. People waking up with bite marks on their hands, feet, faces, with no memory of how they got there. And always, always the same dream. The lake. The sound of something humming from the water. I didn't believe it at first, he admitted. Thought it was one of those town-wide psychosis cases. Power lines humming wrong. Toxins in the soil. Hell, I even had the water tested. And? Penley looked up, eyes hollow. There is no water. That night, I checked into my childhood home. The old house stood at the edge of town, where the road gave up and let the trees take over. It was exactly how I remembered it, peeling paint, rotted shutters, porch sagging under the weight of time and secrets. I hadn't stepped foot inside since the day my brother vanished. I wasn't sure what I expected. Dust, maybe. Cobwebs. That strange, chemical smell of abandonment. What I got instead was silence. Not quiet. Silence. No bugs. No wind. No creak of the floorboards. Even my own breathing sounded like it was being swallowed. I found the bedroom we used to share. His bed still had the same threadbare sheets, the ones with little forest animals printed across them. My bed was empty. But the floor? The floor was not empty. There was a hole. Right where his bed used to be. Not just a crack or a split in the wood. A hole. Perfectly round. About the size of a manhole. And from it, darkness. No smell. No sound. Just void. I knelt beside it. Held up my phone, turned on the flashlight. The light didn't go in. It just stopped. Like the darkness had mass. Like it ate the light. Then I heard it. From deep inside. A voice. Whispering. Bring him back. I stumbled backward, heart hammering like a drum in my chest. I don't remember falling asleep. Don't remember crawling into the bed or pulling the blankets over me. All I remember is that whisper. And the way it sounded like my brother. I woke up at 3:13 a.m. because someone was standing at the edge of my bed. Not someone. Something. I couldn't see its face. Just the outline. Tall, thin, shoulders too wide, neck too long. Its skin was slick and gray, like it had never been dry a day in its life. I couldn't scream. Couldn't move. It leaned closer, casting no shadow. It opened its mouth. Inside, more teeth. Teeth all the way down. Rows and rows of them. And behind those teeth, a mirror. I saw myself. But not me. The version I saw in that gaping mouth was grinning. Wide. Bloody. Happy. I blacked out. When I came to, the thing was gone. But the hole in the floor? It was bigger now. And there was water creeping across the floorboards, dark, thick, moving on its own. Thistle Creek has secrets. I always knew that. But I never knew they were alive. And they want something. They want him. They want me. And I think they already made a deal. Part 2, The Wet Pact. The water reached my boots by sunrise. It wasn't much, just a dark sheen, like someone spilled ink across the floor. But it wasn't soaking. It wasn't spreading. It just sat there, waiting. Still as glass. Still as death. I left the house as fast as I could. Drove straight to the sheriff's office with the morning fog dragging behind my truck like a funeral veil. Thistle Creek always had thick mist in the early hours, but this wasn't natural. It clung too hard. moved too slow. I saw faces in it. Not imagined. Recognized. Sheriff Penley didn't look surprised when I told him about the hole. Or the thing in the bedroom. Or the whisper. He just nodded. Lit a cigarette. Then poured us each a glass of black coffee so thick you could stand a spoon in it. Been waiting for this, he said. That stopped me. What the hell do you mean? You really think this is the first time it's crawled out? He pulled an old folder from his drawer, damp, warped with age, bound in rotted twine. Inside were dozens of yellowed photos. Townspeople. All dated from the early 1900s. Every single one with the same look, blank eyes, half smiles, as if someone had propped them up just long enough to take the picture. Some of them looked like they'd been underwater too long. Lips too dark. Skin too pale. Others had teeth missing. Or added. In 1911, the town made a deal, he said. They called it the Pact of Stillwater. He pointed to one photo. A group of men in suits, standing on the dock, smiling wide and wet. At the bottom, the first offering. Something came up from the lake back then. Preachers said it was a devil. Some said it was a god. Either way, it wanted something. It didn't talk in words. It just made you feel things. Understand things. What kind of things? Penley sipped his coffee, eyes dull. Hunger. Loneliness. Trade. He flipped to another photo. A child, about 10 years old, smiling in front of the chapel, holding something behind his back. A box, maybe? Or a head. They gave it blood, he said. Who did? I asked, already knowing the answer. Everyone. Turns out, the town had been feeding it for over a century. At first it was animals. Then strangers. Hitchhikers. Runaways. Anyone who wouldn't be missed. The town learned to attract them. Keep the roads rough and the gas cheap. Word of mouth spread. You can stay the night in Thistle Creek. But some people never left. And the thing beneath the lake? It slept. As long as it was fed. As long as it was kept full. Until someone stopped the offerings. And the hunger came back. I asked the question I didn't want to ask. What happened the year my brother disappeared? Penley didn't answer. Not right away. Instead, he opened another drawer. Took out a cassette tape. Labeled, June 1999, Cade House. He handed me a recorder. You should hear it from him. The voice on the tape was familiar. Younger. Scared. Him. My brother. I saw it again last night. He whispered. It came out of the crawl space, dragging its belly like it was too full to walk straight. It smiled at me. A pause. Mom said I should go to the church. She said they'd take care of it. Another pause. Shuffling. A sniffle. They told me I was special. That I could seal it. That all it needed was a piece of me. I said no. I screamed. I ran. Then a new voice. Lower. Wet. You belong to the water. The tape ended with a scream. Then laughter. The kind you hear when something's pretending to be human. They wanted him to give himself up, I said. My hands were shaking. Penley nodded. He was supposed to be the last pact. the final child. Full circle. But he refused. Ran into the woods. We never found a body. I swallowed hard. What if that thing in the lake took him anyway? Penley's eyes flicked toward the window. Outside, the fog had thickened. People were walking the streets, but their faces were wrong. Too smooth. Too slack. Like skin over wax. I think it did, he said. But it didn't digest him. Not fully. Because you weren't gone yet. What does that mean? He finally looked at me. Really looked. Like a man staring at a loaded gun with his name on it. It means it never got what it wanted. I left the station before sunset. Penley offered me a shotgun and a half-empty bottle of whiskey. I took both. The lake was calling. I could feel it, inside my ribs, behind my teeth. Like something was tugging. And the water was rising. Literally. Main Street had begun to flood. The storm drains wet black sludge. People walked barefoot through ankle-deep brine, humming that same tune I heard in the hole. A lullaby for the drowned. And above it all, the church bell. Ringing even though the church was long collapsed. Even though there was no one left alive to pull the rope. I drove back to the old house. The lights were on when I arrived. I hadn't left them on. Inside, the hole had widened. Now it spanned the whole room. A chasm filled with rippling black water that wasn't water. It was something else. Something that waited. There was a figure at the edge of the pit. Small. Wearing a soaked hoodie. My brother. He turned to look at me, water pouring from his eyes and nose and mouth. I gave them everything, he said. They want you now. Then he stepped into the water and vanished. The floor shook. The walls groaned. The whisper came again. Bring him back. I ran outside. Back to the truck. But the road was gone. The trees had moved. Bent inward, like fingers curling into a fist. The sky above was no longer sky. It was open mouth. Grinning. Breathing. Waiting. I don't know what Thistle Creek made a deal with. But I know what it wants now. And I think I already gave it to them. Part 3. The Teeth Beneath. By the time I reached the lake, the sky had turned the color of old bruises. It wasn't raining. Not yet. But the air hurt, thick and wet and sharp, like I was breathing in something that didn't want to be inside me. The wind came in from all directions at once, whispering through the trees, whispering my name in his voice. My brother. And something else layered beneath it. Something deeper. Older. Hungry. The dock was gone. Or maybe not gone, replaced. The wood now stretched out over the water in smooth black slats, like it had grown from the lake itself. It bent unnaturally, spiraling out instead of straight, and in the center, a shape. A mass. Pale and shifting. I walked. Each step made no sound. No creak. No splash. The water didn't move. Even the ripples beneath the planks felt artificial, like something was pretending to be a lake, pretending to be calm. But beneath that thin veneer of stillness, something boiled. And it was watching me. I reached the center of the spiral. There was no platform. Just a hole. Not like the one in the house, This wasn't a portal. This was a mouth. Circular. Pulsing. Lined with fibrous roots that twitched at my approach. The edges of the opening were ringed with teeth. Real teeth, some human, others best left undescribed. Blood oozed from the gums, slow and thick like tree sap. I should have run. I should have screamed. But instead I looked down. And I saw him. He was floating just beneath the surface, suspended like a fetus in the womb. Naked. Eyes open. Mouth slack. Skin translucent in the unnatural light leaking up from below. It wasn't my brother. Not anymore. His limbs bent wrong. His fingers were too long. His pupils were too wide. And when he saw me, he smiled. I don't remember jumping in. Only that I was falling. Not splashing, falling. The moment I passed through the surface, it wasn't water anymore. It was flesh. Wet and pulsating, warm and cold all at once, like sliding down the throat of something that didn't chew its food. The light vanished. So did sound. The deeper I sank, the more I felt it, teeth brushing against me, testing me, counting me. Something slid along my spine, cold as bone, smooth as lies. And all around me, mouths began to open. Dozens. Hundreds. Whispering. You brought him back. You broke the pact. You are the offering now. I woke up on a beach. Naked. Shivering. My skin pale and wrinkled, like I'd been soaking for hours. But there was no lake. No water. Just stone, a vast cave lined with statues of people screaming, all etched in a material that pulsed under my fingers. Their mouths were open. Some had tongues. Others still moved. I walked barefoot toward the sound. A low hum. Familiar. The lullaby from the tape. From the house. From the church that burned. It was everywhere. I found him again. My brother. He stood at the center of the chamber, arms outstretched, face clean and perfect and dead. His eyes had no whites. Just black. Black and black and black. His chest was torn open, but instead of organs there was a nest, a spiraling mass of veins and tendrils, each one twitching in time with the heartbeat of the cave. And they reached for me. Come home, he said. I don't belong here, I whispered. Yes, you do, he said. Then he laughed. The cave changed. The statues screamed. The air grew teeth. And I saw the truth. The lake was never a lake. It was a gate. An agreement. A passage between flesh and idea, between the real and the wanting. The town of Thistle Creek didn't just make a deal with the thing beneath, they birthed it. They fed it from their bodies, their sins, their willingness to forget. And now the door was open again. Because of me. Because I came back. Because I never let go. I ran. Through stone that wasn't stone. Through mouths that called my name. Through hands that weren't hands. And I came back to the surface. Somehow. Through the hole in the house. I lay on the floor for hours. Maybe days. I don't know. The sun never rose. The clocks never moved. Time is thin now. Like a scab stretched too tight. The town has changed. Or maybe it was always like this. The people don't talk. They hum. Their eyes are black. They leave fish on my porch every night. Dead ones. Sometimes alive. Sometimes not fish. Sheriff Penley stopped by once. But it wasn't him. He had the badge. The hat. The same slow speech. But his voice echoed from inside his chest. He said, "You broke the seal." I said nothing. He left a mirror on my table. It shows someone else when I look into it. Someone with teeth like glass. I'm writing this from my brother's old room. The water's rising again. But I think I'm ready now. I've seen what waits beneath. I've become part of it. And it's waiting for the next pact. Part 4. The Flooding Skin. It started with the rain. Not heavy. Not violent. Soft. A drizzle that coated everything in a thin, slick sheen, like a film forming between the world and whatever was underneath. It came down in silence, drop after drop, until Thistle Creek wasn't so much wet as it was drenched in birth water. It never stopped. By day 3, the sky was a belly, swollen, gray, stretched taut above the town like it was about to tear and spill something old and wrong. And the people? They were changing. I went out looking for Sheriff Penley, or the thing wearing his name. Found him near the high school, standing in the center of the football field, arms wide, head tilted back like he was worshipping the downpour. Around him, the rest of the town. Dozens of them. Standing barefoot in the mud, faces turned skyward, mouths open, letting the rain fill them up. No one blinked. No one moved. It was like watching puppets hang on strings you couldn't see, all waiting for the same command. I called out. Penley turned his head. But not just his head, his whole face twisted, like clay being molded mid-thought. His eyes ran sideways. His nose shrank. His mouth split at the corners. He smiled. Too wide. And he spoke without sound. Words inside my head. We are shedding the skin of man. We are returning to the depth. That was the last time I saw anyone outside. The streets flooded next. Not like rivers overflowing. The water came up. From the cracks in the road. From the drains. From the roofs of the houses. At first, it was only an inch or two. I could still wade through it. Still pretend it was just another storm. But by the end of the week, the water reached my knees. And it wasn't water anymore. It was warm. Alive. It didn't just ripple when you touched it, it responded. Curled around your fingers. Tugged at your boots. Hummed softly when you walked through it. And in it, things moved. Shadows. Shapes. Sometimes faces. Once, I saw my own reflection grin before I did. The mirror Penley gave me? It's still on the table. I check it every morning. Sometimes it shows my brother. Sometimes it shows the room flooded, even though it isn't. Sometimes it shows me, asleep, bleeding from the eyes. The house is sinking. I can hear it groan. The wood warps. The walls sweat. The windows breathe. The hole in the floor is a mouth now. No point pretending it's not. I hear it chewing at night. Not loudly. Just a slow, rhythmic grind, like molars rolling bone to dust. I've started hearing him again. My brother. He whispers from the water. Sometimes from the faucet. sometimes from puddles on the floor. Once from the toilet. "You're not drowning," he says. "You're remembering." I think he's right. I remember now. More than I should. More than is safe. I remember that this town was never a town. It was a seed, planted in the mud of the real world, watered with blood, grown under a sky of lies and sermons. And now it's blooming. The church is back. It just appeared one morning. Not rebuilt, grown, like fungus on a carcass. Its walls are made of stone, flesh, and barnacles. Its steeple pulses with breath. The bell rings when no one touches it. The steps are teeth. And every night the townspeople gather, still and silent. They go in. They don't all come out. The ones that do, they wear skin that isn't theirs. One came to my door last night. My mother. But she's been dead 13 years. She smiled at me through the window. Hair soaked. Hands too thin. Mouth barely moving. "Come inside," she said. "The water's warm." I slammed the door. But I heard her walking through the walls afterward. The town is empty now. But it's not abandoned. It's inhabited. By echoes. By copies. By things born from us, not of us. I see people I knew. Friends. Teachers. The man who used to run the bait shop. They smile too much. They hum too long. They leave wet footprints where they shouldn't be. They don't blink. And they're all waiting. Waiting for me. Today, I found a letter. Stuffed into the mouth of the thing in the floor. Just a single page, written in dark red ink that smells like copper and brine. It says, "You were the final piece. You opened the vein. The town is inside you now. And it wants to be born." My fingernails have turned black. My tongue is changing. I wake up choking on water that isn't water. I cough up teeth. And they don't match mine. There's something under my skin. I can feel it moving. Tracing its way through my veins like a lover crawling into bed. Like it's building me into something else. I think the final transformation begins soon. Not just for me. For everything. The church's bell rang 13 times this morning. The sky opened. And I saw the eye. Part 5. The mouth that opens. The bell stopped ringing around midnight. I knew because I wasn't asleep. Couldn't sleep. Haven't in days, I think. Time doesn't mean much anymore. The clocks have melted on the walls, the moon stopped moving, and the sun is just a bruise in the clouds now, sore and swollen and circling the drain. The town is fully underwater. Not from rain. From inside. The earth bled it. The pipes vomited it. It rose from the cracks and birthed itself up from beneath, turning Thistle Creek into something it had always longed to be. A cradle for a god. And I am its midwife. I walk now. Not to escape. There is no outside anymore. I think if I drove long enough, I'd just loop back to the same dirt road I started on. I've passed the gas station 6 times. Each time it's more organic. The sign drips now. The windows blink. The town breathes like a lump. Slow. Shuddering. Wet. And the church, oh the church. It's grown. The steeple has twisted into the sky like an umbilical cord piercing clouds that aren't clouds. Its walls are veined with teeth. Its door no longer opens, it splits. Like a wound. They are all inside. Every one of them. The townsfolk. My old classmates. Penley. My mother. My brother. All waiting in the pews, perfectly still, humming in unison. Their eyes are gone. Not empty, replaced by holes that show other things. Oceans without water. Mouths without lips. Hands folded in prayer but clawing beneath the skin. They part when I walk between them. None speak. They only hum. And at the altar, it stands. The hollow God. The thing below. The one they called it that waits beneath still water. It's no longer beneath. It's here. It's risen. It does not resemble man. Not entirely. It is bone and wood and rot and seafoam. It has eyes on its knees. It has mouths on its ribs. It has a spine like a staircase and fingers like praying mantises. It wears the skin of the town like vestments. And where its heart should be, a mirror, cracked, spinning, screaming silently, and I see myself in it. But it isn't just me. It's every version. Me as a child, clutching a dead squirrel and crying. Me as a teenager, shaking beside my brother's empty bed. Me now, hollow-eyed and waterlogged. And me tomorrow, opening my mouth to sing the last verse of the pact. The hollow God speaks, not in words, in pressure, in heat behind my eyes, in the sound of teeth cracking underfoot. It says, "You were always mine, even before your mother kissed your forehead, even before your bones grew into shame. Even before you feared the dark, you were a cup, and I was the wine." It reaches out. Its finger is the size of a mast. I do not run. I offer my hand. I have become the vessel. I have remembered what I never wanted to know. That this wasn't my home, it was my womb. That my brother didn't run away. He was pulled back in. That my reflection wasn't broken, it was just waiting to be recognized. I kneel. Not in worship. In return. And I say the final line. The one I was born knowing but could never speak until now. I am the mouth that opens. Feed through me. The church splits. The sky tears. The eye blinks again, wide and gaping above the clouds, and the water screams. Not like a storm, like a crowd. Thousands of mouths, howling from inside the tide, rising past the rooftops, swallowing street signs and gravestones and telephone wires and fences and bones and teeth and time itself. And I fall backward, not into death, into becoming. I see everything. The old towns, the failed pacts, the other vessels that didn't last. The world cracking like an eggshell as Thistle Creek pours into it, flooding dry ground with something older than oceans, colder than God, and more honest than any prayer ever spoken by man. This is how it ends. Not with fire, not with silence, but with laughter. The kind you hear in a dark basement with no windows. The kind a parent makes when they know something the child doesn't. The kind that doesn't stop. Because now, the pact is complete. The God is fed. And the mouth will never close again. But you'll still hear it. In the drain. In the crawl space. in the silence behind your mirror. Because Thistle Creek is in you now. And it wants you to remember.